Hello, hello, hello.
Hello,
Check, 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 check. Rinig ba ako, guys?
rinig.
Yeah.
Nasaan na si Hans? Nasaan na si Hans? Start tayo pag nandito na si Hans. Magmi-meeting lang tayo para ah, maging clear lang sa atin kung anong gagawin natin tsaka kung anong hatian ng gagawin natin.
Okay, okay.
Wait lang, ping ko lang siya ulit. Ah, hindi tayo magsisimula hanggat wala si Hans. Kasi para kompleto tayo. Walang maiiwan kumbaga.
Asan nga ba si Hans?
Kasi nga ba si Hans? Ang tagal nun.
Sorry.
Ayun,
May
pre.
ginawa lang, pre.
Ayan, may ginawa. Okay lang, okay
Kumain
lang.
kasi.
Okay lang, okay lang. Ano muna, settle down muna tayo, guys. Bago ko i-explain yung code. Okay, team. Bago tayo magsimula sa project, hatiin muna natin yung gagawin para mas mabilis. Tapos, yung buong program may iba't ibang function. Tapos, bawat isa sa inyo, bibigyan ko ng specific na gagawin or i-code para smooth tayo. Okay?
Okay.
Ikaw, Christine, ang sa'yo yung pinakauna. Ikaw gagawa ng global variables. Tapos,
Okay.
may magde-declare ng balance, expenses, and wish list. Okay? Tapos ikaw din yung gagawa ng buong add-in income na function. Wherein merong user input, tapos try accept, tapos i-update mo rin yung balance. Okay? Copy,
Okay.
copy.
Copy.
Copy, copy. Gets. Tapos ikaw naman, Sena. Rinig mo ba ako, Sena?
Dinig.
Dinig. Ikaw naman, yung gagawin mo is yung add expense function.
Okay?
Ito medyo mahirap to kasi ikaw yung mag-i-input ng item. May input item siya, input category, tapos input cost. Tapos i-check mo yung kung yung cost na na-input niya is kaya ba ng remaining balance niya. Okay? Tapos
Copy.
tapos naman pag hindi afford ng user yung item na bibili niya, tatanungin mo siya kung gusto niyang ilagay yon sa wish list or hindi.
Okay. Gets.
Pag nilagay niya sa wish list yon, syempre, yun nga, masasave siya sa wish list. Pag hindi naman, maglo-loop lang yung program. Okay, gets?
Copy. Sige. Gawin ko,
Gets.
mama.
Tas sa'yo naman, Hans, ang gagawin mo is
Yes.
yung show summary function. Bali, ang gagawin nun is kukumputin niya yung total expenses, tapos i-display niya yung remaining balance. Tapos, gagawa ka rin ng dictionary para sa total ng category. Tapos, ilulup mo yun para ipakita yung breakdown ng category. Okay, gets?
Gets. Okay. Noted.
Gets. Kailan mo gagawin?
Mamaya, syempre.
Mamaya. Sige. Tapos, ikaw naman, Kian, ang gagawin mo is meron akong dalawang functions na ipapagawa sa'yo. Yun yung view wish list, which is yung, parang yung kay Sena lang. Pero ang function ng sa'yo is, kung, i-display niya items, tas i-check niya kung empty. Pag empty yun, i-display mo yung na walang laman yung wish list. Pero kung may laman naman, ang gagawin niyan is, tatanungin mo yung user kung gusto niyang bumili. Okay, gets?
Gets. G.
Tapos, ang next na function is purchase from wishlist. Pag gusto niyang bumili sa wishlist na yon, edi ang gagawin nun is i-remove siya sa wishlist tapos i-add siya sa expenses. Gets?
Gets. G lang.
Tapos ang sa akin naman, ang gagawin ko naman is yung financial tips na function, which is pag kung gusto ng user manghingi ng financial tips based sa spending habits nila, edi bibigyan natin silang ganun. Tapos ang next is yung menu function, which is yun yung magsisilbing main loop. Tapos yun yung magsisilbing menu display. Tapos yung mga choices ng user. Tapos Yun lang. Basically, yun na yung program. Bale, ano guys, kaya ba natin gawin yun?
Kaya yan.
Kaya,
Kaya.
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 Kaya niyan, kaya niyan.
Yeah.
Kaya siguro.
Gets. Sige. Asahan ko yan, ha?
Sige,
Okay.
sige.
Good luck,
Sige.
guys.
Good
Send ko
luck,
na lang
good
yung
luck.
akin.
Sina.
Pagtapos.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so for this part, I'm going to demonstrate how our code works. So first, let's go and type 1. Let's add an income. So let's say the amount is 10,000. There you go. The income is added and the current balance is 10,000. Let's try to add another one. So let's choose add income, then 10,000 again. So the current balance is 20,000. So now that we have our balance of 20,000, let's try to add our expenses. So for this part, I'm going to show you two different scenarios. First is if the user can afford the expenses, and second is if the user cannot afford the expenses. So for the first one, let's try to add an expenses. So item name is phone, let's say phone, and it is on the wants category. So if the user can afford, let's say 20,000. So there you go. So if the user can afford the expenses, then it will be added to the expenses, then the cost will deduct the remaining balance, and that's it. So now let's try if the user cannot afford the expenses. So choose an option, expenses. So let's say phone and wants. Then let's say the cost is 21,000. So the user cannot afford that, obviously. And as you can see, the system will display you cannot afford this right now, and the system will ask if the user wants to add it to the wish list instead. So let's try yes. Then as you can see, the phone is added to the wish list or the purchase item. See? And let's try if now let's try if the user inputs no instead of a yes. This will show. The system will show this. The expense is cancelled. And now moving on. For the number 3, which is the view expense summary. So what will it do if, let's say for example, it is empty? So let's try it right now. See, the system will print out no expenses recorded yet. So now let's try if the expenses has an item in it. So let's try the view expense summary. So the system will display this. So first is the expense summary, and then the total expenses, then the remaining balance, then expenses by category. So it will display the expenses by the category, whether wants or food or transportation. Now let's try the view wish list function if it is empty. So the system will display the wish list is empty. And now let's try our earlier example, which is the phone. Let's try to access that in our wish list function for the wish list. So as you can see, this appears wish list and the item cost and its category. Now let's say no to this, or let's say yes. Item number, which is this one, so let's say 1. If you cannot afford the item, then this will display. Now let's try if what will the system do if we can actually afford the item. So let's add an amount. Let's add 10k. Then let's be wish list. Then let's say we want to buy this item. So yes, item number to purchase, which is 1. Then it will display that you purchased the item and it will display the remaining balance. Now let's try what will happen if we say no to this. It will just go back to the menu function. Now let's try the financial tips. So let's add an income, let's say 100. Then let's add an expenses, let's say water, then food, then let's type the cost, let's say 25 pesos. Then let's ask for the financial tips 5. And as you can see, the system displayed your balance is critically low, avoid unnecessary spending. Now let's try this. Let's add an income, let's say 10,000. Then let's add an expenses, so let's say a gadget, let's say wants. Then let's say it is 6,500. Then let's ask for a financial tip 5. You're spending too much on wants, prioritize needs. This happens because we spent more than 40% of our income on our needs, on our wants rather. Now let's try to add one more. Let's say 1,000. Then let's add an expenses, transport, or let's say jeepney fare. Then transport, then let's say 13 pesos. Then let's add one more, water, food, then let's say 25. Then let's add one more, an item name, let's say biscuit. Then let's say food, then the cost is 20 pesos. Now let's add an expenses, let's say clothes, let's say it's under the wants category. Then let's say It costs 300 pesos. Then let's add one more. Then let's add one more, and let's say we are still hungry and we buy some biscuit, and food costs 20 pesos. Then let's add one more. Item name, just water, and food, 25 pesos. Now, let's ask for a financial tip. Then it displays, oh, sorry, displays, you're spending too much at once, prioritize needs, and also, it also displays, try tracking daily expenses to be more aware. This is because um, we spent more than 5 expenses recorded, so that's why the tip appeared. And lastly, let's look at the option 6, which is the exit, and let's type it in. It terminates the whole program. So that is all for our project demonstration, and thank you for watching.
Let's begin right at the top of the code. We declared three global variables. First is the balance. It starts at 0.0 and stores how much money the user currently has. Next is the expenses. It is an empty list that will later hold dictionaries representing each recorded expense. Lastly, the wish list. Another list, but this one stores items the user wants but cannot afford yet. These are global because multiple functions need access to them. Rather than passing these values around, we store them in one place where any function can update them. We start defining the add income function, and the first statement is global balance. We include this so Python knows we want to edit the same balance variable defined above, and will not create a new one. We wrap this inside a try block because converting a string into a float can cause an error. If the user types letters instead of numbers, this avoids a crash. We simply add the amount to the balance, then show it formatted to 2 decimal places.
Here in the line 18 and 19, again, we declare the global variable so we can subtract money from the actual share balance. In line 21 to 22, we record the name of the item and its category, title. Ensure consistent capitalization, food become food, school become school. And next line, here in line 23 to line 27, so just like the income function, we validate that the cost is a number. If it is, we display an error and return immediately. No need to continue processing the expenses. And next line, here, line 29, if cost greater than balance, and line 30. So basically, here we can check if the user has enough balance to pay for the item. This is also shown clearly in the flowchart, a decision diamond checking cost greater than balance. Next line. Here in line 31, you can see if the user cannot afford it, we can give them the option to save it in the wish list. Then next line, in 33, line 33, if they choose yes, we store it as a dictionary inside the wish list. Then next line, here in line 36 to 38, if not, we can simple cancel the expenses and exit the function. Then 38. Then last, in line 40 to 41, we subtract the cost from their balance, then record the expense inside the expenses list. Then last line, 42, the last line. And finally, we show the update balance.
So in the line 45 to 48, this checks whether the expenses list is empty. If it is empty, there's nothing to summarize. So we inform the user and return it to the menu. Next, for the line 50, we compute the total by looping through all expense dictionaries and adding up their cost value. For the line 51 and 53, we display the total amount spent and how much money remains. Next is in this line 56 to 58. We create a dictionary to group the expenses by category. For every expense, we add its cost to its corresponding category total. And next, for this line 60 to 63, this prints the totals for each category: food, transpo, school, wants, and etc. That's all.
Hello, I'm here to explain our code from line 66 all the way up to line 99. Then let's start with what our first line here says, as it is what lets us check if the wishlist has any items. If not, we immediately return to the menu. Next is what displays all of their wishlist items with its number, name, cost, and category, making it easy for the user to choose. Then we move on to letting them decide if they do want to buy the item, wherein saying yes will call purchase from wish list, which will then have us declare the global balance because purchasing affects the balance, before we then have them enter an item number to purchase, where we convert the user's input into a number, subtract 1 to match list indexing, and catch any errors in case they choose something invalid. Next, in the chance that their balance is less than the item's cost, we will print that they still cannot afford this item, as we don't want our users to accidentally overspend even if it's still in the wish list. And then finally, when they purchase something valid and everything goes properly, we subtract the cost, move the item from wish list to expenses, and remove it from the wish list. And then finally, we will print they have purchased this item and their current remaining balance, as this line confirms the purchase of the user.
I'm Mark A. Rondabo, and this is my explanation for these lines of codes. So for this one, this is the function of the financial tips, wherein if there are no expenses recorded, then the system can analyze the spending patterns of the user. Now, moving on, in this part, this one prints the financial tips or the division, and this is a variable want, and this calculates how much money was spent on wants under the wants category. And moving on, in this one, which is the total expenses, this calculates the total spending of the user, total overall. And for this one, since the user is asking for the financial tips, if the balance is less than 100 pesos, then the system will print your balance is critically low and avoid unnecessary spending. Wherein in this one, if the user spends 40% of the total expenses on wants, then the system will print you're spending too much on wants. Prioritize your needs. And lastly, if if the expenses are more than five, or the recorded expenses are more than five, then the system will print try tracking your daily expenses to be more aware. And this prints it. And lastly, we will make a menu function, and this is the main loop that will uh, anchor the whole system. So this one prints the options of the user, and uh, uh, this one is for the user to input their choice. Then if choice is equals to 1, then we will call the add income function. And in this one, if the user choice is 2, then we will call the add expense function. Wherein in this one, if the user input is 3, then we will call the show summary function. And in this one, we will call the view wish list function. And if this is the input, which is 5, we will call the financial tips function. And this one, if the user choice is 6, then we will print this. Then we will break the system. Wherein else, if the user inputs a string or a numbers outside of 1 to 6, then this will be printed by the system. And lastly, this calls the menu function, and this is the most important line of code because the system will not work without this. And that is all for our group, and thank you.